We will start, sir. We will start the session. And
Okay. Good morning, colleagues and friends.
good mo-
Welcome to the webinar conducted by Akola branch of WIRC of ICAI on the issue of faceless assessment. As all are aware, the
sir,
everybody is
I,
listening. No, no
I'll
problem
just
in
start, sir.
hearing.
So,
No?
so I'll just start.
Good morning, colleagues and friends.
Good
Welcome
morning.
to the webinar conducted by Akola branch of WIRC of ICAI on the issue of faceless assessments. As all are aware, the faceless assessment scheme was announced by Honorable Prime Minister of India, Mr. Narendra Modi ji, on 13 August 2020. The main motive of the scheme was to eliminate the human interface between the taxpayer and the income tax department. The concept and the scheme being new, various problems are faced by the assessees, not only by the assessees, CAs, advocate, but also by the department. Discussion of problems at various levels or forums is the most appropriate method to find out the solutions to the various problems faced in the faceless assessment scheme. Therefore, I sincerely thank Akola branch of WIRC of ICAA and its secretary CA Keyur Dedia for conducting the webinar on such important and sensitive issue. I also thank Shri Nitin Bhuta from Mumbai for conducting Bhuta for giving his consent to spend his valuable time to share his experiences and views on the issue of problem faced in the faceless assessment scheme. I welcome all the participants for this webinar and hope the webinar will be useful not only to CAs and advocate and assessees, but to officers and officials of the income tax department. Now I request CA Keyur Dedia to proceed with the webinar. Thank
Thank
you.
you, sir. And good morning and a very warm welcome to all the members present over here. At the outset, and my first of all warm thank you, Tushar sir. Tushar sir, he has given his views for this particular today's session. My first of all sincere thanks to him, Tushar sir, Tushar Inamdar sir. He is the JCIT at Akola, and currently he was not well due to COVID, but has recovered from his weakness and has given his consent to come in this session and share his views on this particular topic. So, sir, सबसे पहले तो अकोला ब्रांच ऑफ WIRC ऑफ ICAI की तरफ से आपको बहुत बहुत थैंक यू. आपने अपना कंसेंट दिया और हम लोगों को इस टॉपिक के ऊपर गाइड किया. इसके लिए बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद. I also thank from our side to the DCIT for Akola Circle, Pramod Shahakar ji, who is also having an additional charge for the Amravati Circle. He has taken all the efforts from the income tax department and to make this session a successful session. So thank you, sir, for making and arranging this session with us. My sincere thanks to CA Nitin Bhuta, sir. Nitin Bhuta, sir, who is the speaker for today's session, Faceless Assessments, a Paradigm Shift. He is going to guide us with all these particular critical issues on the faceless assessment that we all are facing. We all are aware that this scheme has been started wide 2020 and is applied to scrutiny assessments and best judgment assessments. However, then as per the taxation and the other laws amendment bill, faceless assessments have now brought other provisions of the Income Tax Act 1961 under its purview. And we, the members, the taxpayers, the startups, and all the persons, the consultants, everyone, while making some of the compliances with regards to this faceless assessment, are facing some of the other issues. Then what to do about this? So Nitin Bhuta sir ne unka consent diya and he is going to guide us with this particular problems, what are being faced out, what is this issue about, and what is faceless assessment. So warm thank you to you, sir, and I welcome all the members over here. Moving further, I would ask CA Sumit Bhai Alim Chandani to introduce our today's speaker, CA Nitin Bhuta sir. Sum, yeah.
Yes. Thank you, Kerwai. Am I audible to everyone?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. A very good morning to the respected seniors, my colleagues, and my brothers fraternity over here. Our today's speaker is Shri Nitin Bhuta sir. Nitin Bhuta sir is a graduate from Mulund, Mumbai, and became chartered accountant in 1992. He is the proprietor of Nitin Bhuta and Company, Mumbai. This is the 30th year of practice of the firm. He secured the 13th rank at all India level at the intermediate level of the ICAI examination. Sir is the regular writer of articles which are published at various platforms like GST, PAM, Magazine, Tax Guru, CA Club India. He is also the regular speaker at WIRC, NASIM, GST certification courses, as well as at various study circles in Mumbai, as well as outside Mumbai on GST. He is one of the panelists on WIRC for resolving the queries on GSTR 9 and 9C. He is also the founder member come honorary treasurer of Confederation of GST Professionals and Industries, representing GST on pan-India basis. Being based out in Mumbai, sir had the privilege of getting exposure to various industries like advertising industry, entertainment industry, pharma industry, manufacturing, medical, skincare and healthcare, wellness, real estate industry, etc. in the field of accounting, direct and indirect taxation, as well as management advisory services. Presently, sir is actively engaged in litigation matters of direct and indirect taxation and management advisory to the corporate as well as non-corporate services up to the tribunal level. With this, I request Shri Nitin Bhuta sir to guide us on complete shift to faceless assessment under income tax.
Good morning. Thanks to Additional Commissioner Tushar Inamdar ji, Akola Branch Chairman CA Keur Dedia, Deputy Commissioner of Income Tax Shri Pramod Shahakar, and all core committee members of the Akola branch. When I was asked to present the session on the faceless appeal as well as the faceless assessment together, I recommended to Keyur ki let us plan the session in 2 slots. First one being a faceless and second one being the faceless appeals. So faceless appeal would be planned in the next few the convenience and the possibility. But what we are going to discuss with reference to the faceless assessments, lot of aspects would be applicable to faceless appeals also. So with this, let me start my session. I'll just share my screen. Just give me 1 second. Is screen visible?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
So basically, what we are talking throughout the session is the faceless assessment, and it's a paradigm shift. And what does it involve by way of articulation, and how does one address the issues which are faced by both the sides because of the complete shift in the way of looking at the things from the assessment perspective. Typically, all the will put the disclaimer at the end. I usually put the disclaimer in the beginning. Iski, whatever I'm going to say is they are my personal views. They may be incorrect, as they are expressed based on my understanding of the subject. All are expected to read through the law provisions and then take the suitable recourse to address the situation in itself. And if I give any examples during my deliberations, and if they get similar to the situations which all of you have encountered, or they are similar to your clients, I have no intention to share anybody's information. And such examples are purely incidental and ancillary for the deliberation purposes. So let us look at what is the faceless assessment. It can be best explained by looking at this picture which is appearing on your screen. Is the house which has got a multiple floors, multiple entries, and multiple surrounding options. So when we compare the faceless assessment, the scope is extremely wide, and with the data and the technology and the communication is going to play a significant role when we attempt to do the compliances under the faceless assessment scheme. So when we build any house, foundation has to be very, very strong. And if the foundation is weak, then we can have a problem in future. So what initially in couple of slides, I would be discussing the foundation part of the scheme. And during when I'm doing the deliberation, wherever the issues are to be taken a note of, which can be taken note by the branch as well as the people from the department who are attending this particular session, so that it can be addressed in the interest of all this in general. So everything is linked to digital footprints. And when I say digital footprints, it refers to the data that is available in the form of a digital information on the ITD website, which can be your assessee's account, for which access is available to government authorities, as well as it is available to the assessee, as well as his authorized representatives, or whoever assessee would like to give access to. But when we look from a digital aspects, can we equate that with the ocean? Ocean, nobody can predict what is the depth of the ocean. And we don't even know what is happening under the ocean. So what is the deliberations are purely an iceberg. What we see and what is going behind the scenes, it's only known to very limited people. As we know, this scheme was formulated in August 2020. So scheme is in the nebulous stage. And when I say it is a nebulous stage, we can equate the situation to a child who is born. Typically what we see, when a child is born, there are some teething problems which are encountered by either child or parents or connected people. And normally it is observed it takes some years to stabilize the system. And when we look at this particular scheme, its basic objective is to eliminate the human interface between the taxpayer and the government officials in respect of certain specified assessees. And there are certain situations which are still to be done in the old traditional forms, which we will see in the subsequent slides. The other objective of this particular scheme is to promote the efficiency. How the efficiency is promoted? The efficiency means you don't have to travel to the department. You don't have to print the records. You have to upload all the records in the electronic format, which are permissible under the schemes, so that it saves time. You just need a proper technology systems. Plus, the scheme intends to provide for a team accountability, whereas the multiple teams are working together on the same assessment. It can be assessment unit, it can be technical unit, it can be verification unit, it can be review units. So who is going to do the final draft order? Who is going to provide for a revised assessment order? And what will be the final assessment order? Typically, under the old system, only one officer used to do the all. But now it will be done by the multiple team of people who are focused, who are specialized in the each aspects. And that is how this assessment is planned. We are familiar with the concept of data dashboard, which is on our system. We can see what is available on the data dashboard, which is our computer or our client's computer. But the government has a data dashboard which is much wider, much deep, and we can't even comprehend what data is available with them. And whatever the data upload that we are doing under this particular scheme always generates the hash value of the submissions that we are filing. But what we have seen at times, information is getting uploaded on the system, but sometimes the hash value is not generated. Acknowledgements are not generated. Plus, there is a capping of the limit to which a data can be uploaded. So if the size and the volume of the business or activities which assessee is doing is heavy, all stakeholders are forced to upload the information in the partial form rather than in a complete submission. So here 2 points which department should address is the data that can be uploaded on the portal, that size can be improved upon, and one needs to investigate as to why in certain situations hash values are not generated. Though such information is seen on the submission, the information is available, but acknowledgement is not available. So here what one should take care, key transaction IDs, what when we submit, that should be maintained. And when we are filing the written submissions, that should be included. And we should always notify the reason key hash values were not generated. And probably try to keep as many screenshots available at our disposal. Looking at the objective of the scheme, it is completely tech-driven. Nothing can be done without the technology anymore. And communication has to be crystal, precise, to the point, as well as accurate. And due to some reasons, we are not able to compile the information that is sought in the assessment. We should always seek a time with the genuine reasons. I urge all the members, never give any reasons which are not reasonable. But if you give a reasonable reasons, definitely time will be given to all the beneficiaries. And they can understand, even they know that there are members in a public as well as all the stakeholders are grappling with the issues every now and then. The other peculiar aspect of this particular scheme is a dynamic. Dynamic in the sense, person sitting in Akola, filing his income tax returns, they will be processed by the National Faceless Assessment Center based in Delhi. Based on the automated allocation systems, cases are selected for a scrutiny. Notices are generated with the DIN numbers. Sometimes DIN numbers are not there. It happens. It's a technology issue. But most of the times, DIN numbers are there. And when the notices are served on the taxpayer for any respective assessment years, assessee is expected to respond either himself or through his representative assessees. And then they will be allocated to the assessment units who will raise some queries. They will sort the various information. They may ask technical advice. They may ask verification. And the process will continue. In the subsequent slides, we will see in detail how it will happen. But the person sitting in Akola, notice flowing in from Delhi, assessment unit sitting in Mumbai, second assessment unit sitting in Chennai, third assessment unit sitting in Timbuktu, fourth assessment unit sitting in Kolaba, fifth, and so on. Whereas verification unit can be in Madhya Pradesh. Technical unit may be sitting in West Bengal. So, and this all communication and the exchange of information will happen through technology only. So, in the assessment, there are a lot of legal issues were faced and where it was said that there are something fundamental rights are violated, where the opportunity of personal hearing is not granted and some scenarios, or orders are passed without considering the submissions, or orders are passed before the due date of submissions. These are all teething troubles which were issued, which were observed and seen. But I think more or less in future, such issues will be redundant as things unfold. And government is making a conscious effort to address such issues. Typically, the title given to this particular session is a paradigm shift. When I say a shift, all were used to a face value, where we used to sit across the table, explain things to the officers who were doing the assessments at every level. But now, there will not be any more face value. it will be only faceless. Now there won't be any personal connects between the department officials, because we don't know who is going to start the assessment and who is going to conclude the assessment. So only vital role that it will play is your brain, your command over the law, subject, interpretations, your database, your research. And if you are able to document the transactions and file the submissions in a perfect way, explaining all the aspects of the transactions as sought for, then you may get a very good orders. And what our experience says, very beautiful questions are raised in the faceless assessments by the department. Very, very nice. Yes, there are some questions, some data, some information is asked again and again, which can be avoided by the department at the department end. So now as we proceed, can we say, is it an old wine in a new bottle or is a complete new wine? So we will see in the subsequent pages. But before we go on to the scheme, I would like to explain the tax ecosystem of the country. At the top, we have an income tax law, which is in the form of acts, rules, and forms, which specifies the various heads of income. Directions are given under the respective sections. Restrictions are also provided, and prohibitions are also stated under the law. What documents are required to be filed, which forms to be used, what procedures to be followed, that are all given under the ecosystem, which all taxpayers as well as the officials are expected to follow. What is allowed, what is deductible, what is not allowed, what are the time limits which are to be adhered, that is to be taken care. At the same time, if you don't comply, what are the penalties and how the demand and recovery proceedings will happen and how the prosecutions will happen in the given scenarios. So when we look at the tax ecosystem, it starts with the transactions of a business unit or a assessee. If books of accounts are required to be maintained, they are required to be maintained. And if not, as applies, then based on that, the financial statements are prepared. And then we prepare the computation, self-assessment, ITR, and the TAR as applicable. So when we look at this stage is the ascertainment which is in the control of the assessee. And based on this document, we receive the intimation which we are known as 143(1), which is essentially verifying the arithmetical accuracy of the information that we are filing. And some cases are selected for the scrutiny, assessment, and the rectifications, whereby return of income is either increased or decreased based on the protocols which are there in the systems of the CPC, exemptions allowed or deductions allowed or not allowed, refund granted or rejected. And if anybody is unhappy with the outcome, they may go for the alternative remedies that are available, which is the first remedy is appeal, and followed by the subsequent remedies, which is the tribunal, high court or a Supreme Court, or a writ petitions, which is the determination. So essentially in the whole discussion, we will be concentrating on the determination part as well as the ascertainment part from the perspective of the faceless assessment. So basically the outline of the session is this, which I have provided and will be discussing. I have excluded the standard operating procedures of the faceless assessment because of the paucity of time. But standard operating procedures which were notified for the assessment schemes are equivalently applicable to faceless assessment scheme also. So we can always draw the support wherever it is required to defend ourselves. So when we look at the assessment objective, the intention is to foster greater efficiency, transparency, and the accountability by eliminating human interface using the technology, and that is between the assessing officer and the assessee. So assessment will essentially happen between the assessing officer and the assessee only. Optimizing the resources through economies of scale and functional specialization. Here, functionalization, specialization refers to various units that are planned under the scheme. But here, one drawback which I see, if an assessee would like to have the multiple authorized representatives to be appointed to defend the matter, then that is not permitted. As I understand, only one AR can be appointed. So if a government can work on this, even a assessee has an opportunity having a different specialist to defend the matter, then it can be helpful. Team-based assessment with the dynamic jurisdiction. And once the data is transmitted in the electronic format where it can reach, nobody can predict. It can travel to any nook and corner of the world. And information and the help can be sought from by all the people from sitting on their office. See, today with the technology, we are doing a webinar. I'm sitting in Mumbai and most of you people are sitting in Akola. It may be like, if I had to travel to Akola, it could have been 12 to 14 hours of journey. But here we are connected in a few seconds. Look at the introduction of the AIS and the TIS, which has been recently done. Look at the depth of information that is available with the department. Look at the power they have. Today it has been clarified that it will not be used for the assessment of financial year 2021. But in future, such information would be used for us. Right now, it depicts only information pertaining to the income tax law. Tomorrow, it can be extended to any branch of law, and that information one is expected to support. In my understanding, it is a novel scheme. It is a future for everybody. It offers a tremendous opportunities to everyone. I have coined this words of each alphabet, where F reference the factual. It is a flawless, fruitful, flamboyant, which is loud and extravagant. This scheme, even the world is watching towards India. Because when I did a lot of international jurisdiction studies, there is such schemes are in place, but not in the form which we have introduced in India. A stands for accuracy, assertiveness, artful, astute. When I say astute, one has to be wise from both the sides, from the department side as well as the assessor side. C stands for communication, which is again contact lens. Communication has to be crafty, clear, and unblemished. E stands for enterprising, which is innovative, efficient, effective, effectual, exemplary. L stands for limitless, lateral, and latitude. It is not bound by any limits, as well as the longitude. Essentially, the dynamic jurisdiction. E stands for energetic, eyeful. It is visionary. It is economic. It is endless. Where it will translate, where it will transpire, where it will cross, it is totally endless. S stands for seamless, all in one. Symbolic, stress-free, stakeholders, participants. Strategic, systems, which is essentially tech-driven. Synchronizations and smoothing. I see in future, today, most of the stakeholders are feeling it is not good, but in future, when we will see the fruits of this particular scheme, everybody will enjoy it. And the real assessments would happen in future. Now, let us look at what are the tech developments that are happening under the scheme. We know income tax law is a 10-decade law, which is stable. Initial, lot of judicial jurisprudence is well established, which is known to all the sides. But when I look at the technology developments, it is started almost since 2 decades. DIT system was established in 1981. PAN was introduced in 1984. ITD portal was functional from 2003. ITR, electronic filing of ITR, was instrumented from 2004. Again, some changes were done in 2005 in PAN coding. Challan was introduced in 2005. TDS and corporate returns were made mandatory from 2006. CPC was established in 2009. Others, especially the year 2014, changes were introduced under the Act very minutely, whereby the foundation of such schemes was laid down by the government. Followed by the E assessments in 2016. Again, expansion in 2018. Again, it was renamed as E-assessment scheme in 2019. And finally, the Faceless assessment scheme was implemented from 13th August 2020, followed by appeal from 25th September 2020. Penalty from 12th January 2021. New ITD portal was introduced from 7th June 2021. Tribunals from 25th June 2021. And now, what further will come in future, we don't know. But as I see on 1st of February, lot of scheme options which are not so far enabled by way of a faceless schemes will be introduced in this budget, as that is what my anticipation is. But look at the committed timelines of the government. Whatever the timelines are provided, they are sticking to the timelines. They could have introduced this scheme through zonal wise or each region wise, but they were very firm. It will go on a pan-India basis. This is very important. Tax charter, which is known to everybody. Income tax department is committed to provide fair, courteous and reasonable treatment. They want to treat taxpayer as honest. They want to provide a mechanism for appeal and review, to provide complete and accurate information, to provide timely decisions. That is the reason why limited timelines are given for responding to the notices. And you got to respond within that timelines to collect the correct amount of tax. They don't want you to pay anything more. They don't want you to pay anything less. They want you to pay exactly the correct amount of tax. They want to maintain the privacy of a taxpayer. They want to maintain the confidentiality. They want to hold its authorities accountable. They want you to give the opportunity to select your representative of your choice. They want to provide a mechanism to lodge a complaint. They want system to be just, fair and equal. They would like to publish service standards and report periodically. They would like to reduce the cost of compliance. At the same time, they expect taxpayers to be honest, compliant, informed, accurate in maintaining the records. They want to, taxpayers should know what their representatives are doing. They expect taxpayer to respond in time. Not keep on buying time, not keep on buying seeking adjournments, not keep on buying the personal hearing or not seeking the opportunity of personal hearing in person across the table. They expect you to pay in time. So whenever we are doing submissions of the assessment, this tax charter has to be kept in mind by both the sides and to be adopted the approach accordingly. These are the various terms which I have used in my presentation, which can be always referred. Now let us look at how do we read the scheme in essentially. I have kept assessment to be in center, appeal at the top and the penalty at the bottom. When we look at the, let us the way look at the word sections are drafted. If you see the mode of drafting, it is more or less on the similar counts. So even whatever the new schemes that will come in future in account of the faceless, which can be of DRP or rectifications or tribunal or anything that we can think of, everything will be drafted on the similar lines. So basically, assessment is the making the assessment, where the object is to eliminate the interface between the assessing officer and the assessee. When I look at same read with the appeals, when a commissioner appeal is not to have a direct contact with the appellant. An appellant can be taxpayer as well as the department, both. And whereas penalty, income tax authority, assessee or any other person. But common linkage, if you see in the definition, is a technology feasibility. That is going to play a very, very significant role. So when we read any schemes, we should always try to read together so that conceptual clarity becomes extremely easier for all the stakeholders. Now look at the optimizing economies of scale and functional specialization. In all three options, assessments, appeals, and penalty, exactly the wordings are same. Hardly any change. Look at the assessment, team-based assessment, because multiple team members are involved. But again, team assessment, team-based assessment with dynamic jurisdiction, whereas appellate system with the dynamic jurisdiction, and mechanism to introduce the penalty with the dynamic jurisdiction. So basically, if any mistakes are observed in the assessment, even a penalty notices would be triggered automatically, which are system driven. Now, if we look at the standard operating procedures which are provided within the department, it provides any notices that are generated, they have to be authenticated by the officer who is generating such notices prior to National Faceless Assessment Center triggering such notice. It is only internal process, as I gather from the SOPs available in a public domain. Now let us look at the structure, composition, and functions. There is a taxpayer, National Faceless Assessment under the principles is DCIT, where communication is only through email, SMS on the mobile number which is registered, and mobile app which is planned to be introduced in future. So far it is not enabled. There are 30 regional faceless assessment centers under the DCITs, 95 assessment units, 35 verification units, 4 technical units, and review units. No human interface, dynamic jurisdiction, team-based working, and functional specialization. When we look at the composition, assessment unit and the verification unit has got 1 principal CIT, 4 additional and 1 JCIT, 20 deputy commissioners and assistant commissioners of income tax, and 20 ITs, and the support staff. Similarly, review unit will have the 1 PCIT, 3 additionals and JCIT, 6 deputy commissioners, assistant commissioner ITs, and 9 ITs, and the support staff. This is the essential structure of the units. When I look at the function, assessment unit, before I proceed, now all this what I'm speaking is there in this section itself. So anybody would like to understand the scheme, they need to read the section from 1st April 21. They need not go back to the circulars or notifications which are issued for the scheme. Now it is in the act itself. Now assessment unit will make the assessment, or they will do the reassessment. Issue identification. What are the issues that are there in the scrutiny assessments that are to be taken? They can seek the information. They can analyze the information. Whereas the verification unit will conduct the inquiry. They will do the cross verification. They will do the books examination, statement of witness, physical verification on approval of CIT of National Faceless. Now, one particular thing, verification unit will be nearest to the location where the assessing is located. Because it is not possible for an assessee to travel where the location verification unit is located. So here only when there is a verification done, there will be a connect between the assessee and the persons who are visiting for the verification. Technical unit, it is a reservoir of the information which they have. It's like a bank. An objective of technical unit is to assist assessment unit as well as verification unit in the field of legal, accounting, forensic, information technology, valuation, transfer pricing, management, or any other matter. And this all definitions are inclusive. So scope is extremely wide, whereas a review unit will get involved at the last stage. If it is in the national opinion of the National Faceless Assessment Center, the review of the draft assessment order is required as per the various risk management strategy or automated examination tools which are built by the government. The objective of review unit, whether the points of facts and law, they are clearly stated in the order, whether all relevant aspects are incorporated in the order, whether all issues or additions are properly discussed, whether the order is speaking order. The most important, whether all documents, submissions are considered, as well as the rebuttal are considered while passing the order. And the judicial review to provide for minimum litigation in future. This is the broad objective of the scheme. Now, who are covered? Basically, only for a specified territorial area, specified person, class of persons, certain class of incomes and class of incomes, and all order which has been passed on 31st March 2021, it provides anything initiated after 1st April 21 has to be done under this scheme, other than central and international tax charges. The reason is very, very clear. The matters which are involved in the central circle assessments, international tax charges are too complex. It cannot be handled easily by normal jurisdiction assessing officers. So central charges where search is happened under section 53A or 153C, they are not covered. Or if it is a for transactions or a tax research cases, then that will not be covered under the scheme. Survey cases where some material is impounded, then that will not be covered. International tax charge where non-residents or foreign companies are involved. But we have seen some notices are received by the foreign companies on account of the faceless assessments, but when it is notified, they are deleted or it is required to be challenged. Recently, when I was handling one block assessment, I was little surprised when I saw the notice of 142(1) which provided for the online submissions. We find the submissions, but when we inquired with the central charge officers, they said you are also, even if you file manually in the central charge, that is fair enough. Now, there are some peculiar situations which are not covered under the faceless assessments, which is the reassessment proceedings under section 148 before the case is transferred to National Faceless Assessment Center. So here, assessing officer can initiate a notice under section 148. Assessee will file the return electronically. Then assessee can seek the reasons of reopening, and If the reasons of reopening are not valid, assessee can challenge them, and based on the submissions, assessing officer feels that reassessment is not required, then it can be dropped. And if he feels it is required, then he will transfer that matter to the Faceless Assessment Center, and whatever the proceedings that has to happen under the Faceless Assessment Scheme, that will happen. So the role is very, very restrictive as far as the reassessment is concerned. Reassessment proceedings cannot be done in person. It is one aspect that has been transferred to the jurisdictional assessing officer. Rectification proceedings are still with the jurisdictional assessing officer. Demand, recovery, and stay proceedings are also with the jurisdictional assessing officer. DRP proceedings are also in person. CIT proceedings under section 263 and 264 are still not covered under the Faceless, but I expect that to be initiated on 1st February 2021. CIT directions under section 144A. TDS proceedings, valuation by DBO under section 142B. Trust registrations, GAR proceedings, chapter 10A, limit is 3 crores. Matters arising out of departmental audits, whether it is a revenue audit or an internal audit, whatever you call. Departmental appeals or SLP petitions filed by the department, filing as well as the defending by the department. Remedial effects or setting aside of the assessment orders arising out of the alternative dispute mechanism, which is tribunal, high court, Supreme Court, including the examination of additional evidence. Final assessment orders arising out of the DRP actions. So these are definitely, as I understand, they are not covered under the Faceless Assessment Scheme. If there is a new development where these are covered, I am subject to correction, but to my knowledge, they stand as it is as of today. So when I say a digital dashboard or a data which is playing a significant role, information, which is data. Look at the amendment of section 148A. Now, the emphasis has been changed from reason to believe to a data that is available in the hands of department. Dynamic jurisdiction, video conferencing or video telephony or software, electronic records, evidence. Now, the provisions of the electronic records and electronic evidence has to be looked from the evidence, Indian Evidence Act angle. Data sharing can happen and the verification can happen sitting anywhere in the world. Document can be uploaded in Word, PDF, disk, cloud data, ERP systems, timelines. Research. As we do our research, they have more research on their dashboard rather than us. We only do the 360-degree profiling of the client. Or it is not possible that sometimes client will share all the information with us. But now time has come, all clients should share such information with us in a transparent manner. Because what data they have, department have with them, it is a 720-degree profiling. Your Addl is linked, your bank is linked, your passport is linked, your biometrics are linked, everything is linked by the department. And they have all the arsenal under their sleeves. Security and privacy. All stakeholders are expected to invest in technology, systems, intellectuals. Department software which is provided for the compliances is too good, absolutely flawless, absolutely flawless, no complaints, very fast, very smooth, and very efficient. And they can use any of the combinations for conducting the faceless assessments or a faceless appeal for that matter. Now look at the diagrammatic representation of the faceless assessments. Assessee is filing the returns, which will be validated by the CPC Bangalore, and it will be communicated to the assessee. If accurate, no issues. If not accurate, deficiencies are notified. Assessee either rectify, agree, don't agree, depending upon the facts of the matter. So it's a two-way street between the assessee and the CPC. Whereas assessee and the National Faceless Assessment Center will communicate only with each other. They will not communicate with anybody else. So communication point is only National Faceless Assessment Center. National Faceless Assessment Center also will communicate with third parties. They can also communicate with CPC Bangalore. CPC Bangalore can also communicate with third parties, depending on the requirements. And the communication will be routed through Regional Faceless Assessment Center, who will in turn allocate the cases based on the automated allocation system to various. And assessments unit will communicate only between the Regional Faceless Assessment Centers, who in turn will communicate with National Faceless Center. One assessment unit will not communicate with another assessment unit. And this is where human interface is eliminated. If verification is required, then the request has to be made by the assessment unit to the Regional Faceless Assessment, who will make to request to National Faceless Assessment Center, who will communicate to the Regional Faceless Assessment Center, and then who will communicate with verification unit, who will do the verification and then file the report with Regional Faceless Assessment Center, and then it will forward it to National Faceless Assessment Center, and then where it will get allocated to which assessment unit is difficult. Nobody will know. It may be the next door cabin. It can be different jurisdiction, different regional area altogether. Same way technical unit. Same way the functioning will happen. The request has to happen from assessment unit to through Regional Faceless Assessment to National Faceless Unit, and then they will refer matter to technical unit. But there is no direct communication between assessment unit or a verification unit or a technical unit and review unit as the last stage. Last stage. This is very, very small diagram which I have created to explain. It can be made very, very wide to cover many aspects. So basically, this is the platter what we are looking at. It is basic, technology driven, quite simple. If we are not technology upgraded, then we will face the issues. But we need to learn. Change is constant, and the development will happen at every stage. Plus, it is mixed. It is complex, technical, cross-transitional, other aspects, cross-examination, summons, technical unit, draft assessment order, personal hearing, video conferencing. If draft assessment order is adverse, then only personal hearing and the video conferencing is granted, not otherwise. Review unit, revised assessment order and final assessment order. When we receive the final assessment order, then only the matter is concluded. Till that time, the matter is not concluded. Time limits is very, very significant. Here, one major issue, sometimes time granted to respond in the notices is too short, or data sought for providing is too voluminous. So that factor has to be embedded while issuing the time limits by the department. Everything is electronic. So if we are not going to adjust ourselves to the technology, then we will not succeed in this scheme at all. There is no choice and there is no going back under any circumstances. Now, what I have discussed verbally, that is same repeated in this particular procedure. So I'm just running through the slides so that we can concentrate on the issues part more. Now, this is the same graph which was there earlier. The cross in red, that it itself indicates they are not supposed to speak to each other. That is what is proposed. Considering the genuine issues of the stakeholders, certain high value cases are also to be done in the traditional manner. So when in my initial slide, when I say, is it a wine in an old bottle or is it a new wine? So for some people it is a new wine, and for some people it is an old wine. Now look at the communications. Every communication has to be digitally authenticated. DIN notices is mandatory. It can be delivered to the registered account of the taxpayer on the ITD portal. It can be email, which is available in the registered account of the assessor, or it is provided in the ITR, or it is available in the various sources from such where the information can be delivered. Mobile app is yet to come. SMS. Any other mode, whether a phone can happen, whether visit can happen, or a courier can come, or a post letter will come, answer is no. So what is the old scenario that we had in section 282? That stands eliminated. So if we are going to take any objections, if this has not happened, this has not happened, we need to keep this in mind. It has to be responded only with reference to the electronic communication. And all these communications can be done in any combinations and on real-time basis. Now, other question is, which is the advice to all the assessees or authorized representative? Please, on the ITD portal, please register the mobile number of the clients and their email IDs. You can be appointed as an authorized representative by filing the appropriate letter of authority. But please don't give your email ID or don't give your mobile number, because unless and until you have a proper letter of authority, you are not authorized to receive such a notice. Please come out of the concept ki everything I will be monitoring. No, you got to make your clients visible. And even if the clients are approaching to the department, even department should recommend, Baba, please do this. It's the initial phase, but everybody is required to be groomed to meet such requirements. Now, other thing is ki Rule 14C was introduced on 14 September 21, where electronic verification codes and BSC authentication has been done. For the electronic response, if you file through registered account of the assessee, everything has to be done through the registered account of the assessee only. So like whatever you file electronically and somebody has access to your portal account, and if he files, then it will be treated ki you filed that information. Submissions can be complete, or it can be full, or it can be partial. Maximum 10 documents can be uploaded at one go. I think that limit has required to be increased. Formats are provided. These formats can be used for the purpose of the course. Maximum 50 MB. Each file 5 MB. This limit is required to be increased substantially. Substantially it is required because documents can be voluminous. So this is the area which department needs to work on. When we are naming the files, don't use backslash, forward slash, these symbols. They are not permitted. The reason they are not permitted is if such signs are used, they can be hacked by the hackers. This I came to know when I was interacting with the Infosys team members when we were validating some of the aspects of the ITD portal. File name can be, one can use the hyphen or underscore. EVC, OTP, DSC. Adjournment can be sumoto, but please give specific reasons. Don't make any lies. I'm medically sick, or this client is out of station. Now department they can track you from your mobile where you are located, whether you are out of station or whether you are in particular location, if required. That power they have. Personal and hearing or a video conferencing, it is only applicable where the draft assessment order, where adverse adjustments are done, or exemptions not allowed, deductions not allowed, or income tax which is exempt, subject to the approval. Now, as I see the standard operating procedures, one line which bothered me a lot, the personal hearing or a video conferencing will be granted only when there is a manual submissions filed. Manual means, when I say manual, when I refer, it is a electronic submissions. Why hearing can't be granted without submissions in hand? Yes, subsequently, within a reasonable time, assessee or their representative can be asked to file. But I feel hearing can be granted even when the submissions are not filed for the discussion, because arguments can flow in based on the discussions between the two officials or two people who are discussing the matter. This is my personal view, but we got to stick to whatever the schemes are. This I have already explained in the earlier slides. They have a functional specialization. Why a assessee can't have the multiple authorized representative attending the matter? It should be fair on both the sides. Another issue is every state has a different stamp duty structure. So how do we address? Maharashtra will have 500 rupees. Gujarat will have 100 rupees. Bihar will have 1 rupee. How? We may draft one standard limited power of attorney for attending the matter based on the comfort of the client, so that it may be used permanently for every litigation that can come in the forte of the client. But choice is yours. It can be limited to each assessment year, or it can be general limited power of attorney. That discussion is between the stakeholders. Now let's look at some of the foundation in assessment when I'm doing. What is the business model of the assessee? That one has to be clear. What books of accounts are maintained? What are the documentary evidences that are available? Which audit reports are applicable? SAR justifications has to be kept in mind. Arm's length prices, notes to accounts, statutory compliances, digital trails, and international transactions. When I say a digital trail, as of now, digital trail is not compulsory. From the next year, it will be compulsory from 1st April 21 onwards. And when we are looking at the scheme development and the data sharing of information is happening amongst all the laws that are applicable to an enterprise typically. Day for yesterday, I was like surprised. Our client had incorporated the company under the provisions of the Companies Act, and they went for profession tax registrations. We came to know they were already allotted the profession tax registration by the department so modo. And client doesn't have a login ID and the credentials to access the site. And that is happening because MCA and VAT department or a GST department have a data sharing. Same things would be happening under the income tax vis-a-vis the other law. The only thing which is here, anybody carrying out the business activity in Maharashtra is expected to pay the profession tax. But if that person doesn't have an employee, still he is granted the registration. I think such an anomaly needs to be corrected in implementing the technology initiatives. So when we look at when the notice is received, first level submission plays a very, very significant role because it is a foundation of support for future alternative remedies if they are applicable. We needed to analyze what issues are raised, what is the exposure involved, what is the law, what is the rules applicable, including the judicial pronouncements. Documentation involved, risk management strategy, scratch drafting. We need to do this exercise before we file this. And that also to be done well in advance before the due date of submissions. When we are doing the ongoing assessment, drafting and the documentations should be maintained in the proper folders. Whenever we draft the submissions, always provide for the synopsis, what you would like to come to and what is conclusion that we would like to reach by way of our submissions. Because it is possible that person who is receiving such information may not have a time to go through each and every word of the submission. Cross-referencing, pagination. If the agreement has to be referred, please incorporate the relevant text of the agreement in your written submissions and give a cross-reference key on it is provided on the so-and-so page number of so-and-so agreement and so-and-so annexure or an exhibit as you use. Always ask if you think personal hearing and the VC is necessary. Please write a para in your submissions ki we desire this in view of so and so reason. Though it will not be granted in the ongoing assessments, but if the draft assessment order is passed, which is adverse, then your submissions will help. And if it is not granted because of some reasons, then it can always help you in future at the appeal levels or as well as at the tribunal levels or at the high court levels or at the Supreme Court levels or at the writ petition levels. And whenever the submissions are filed or if any hearing has happened, please make a summary. After whatever order that you are receiving, please review it, compare with your summary of hearing, verification. Post-assessment effects are to be given, please apply appropriately. If alternative remedies are required to be explored, please explore. Let us take an example which I encountered in one of the assessment cases, which is very nice to see. It was a clubbing provision under section 64 pertaining to the property income. In the order of assessing, preliminary questionnaire, it was questioned why you have not offered 100% income and why you have claimed 100% TDS. Because that's rental income was subject to TDS. And the question was posed, why we will give you the benefit of the complete credit of TDS compared to rule applicable where income as well as the TDS has to be matched. The facts of the case were husband had contributed, say, 70% of the money of acquiring the property. And 30% was contributed by the wife. So wife was receiving 100% rent. TDS was deducted on 100% because the property was registered only in the name of wife. Husband names was not there. So the multinational who were paying the rent to the assessee, they said we will not deduct the TDS in two names. We will deduct only in the name of the property owner who is registered in the records of sub-registrars. And that's why when we were filing the ITR, we were showing the ownership only to the extent of 30%. And 70% was disclosed in the name of husband. And 70% income was offered in the hands of husband. And the TDS was claimed. So this was the point of contention. And then when the assessment notice came, we documented everything, all the provisions. We explained with the legality, explained vis-a-vis the reasons of property law, 26 AS, ITR, how it is disclosed with precise reasoning. And we also emphasize that the intention is not to transfer the income. The intention is to do the compliance in a right manner in view of the clubbing provisions. And the values involved were very, very substantial. And fortunately, on view of the accurate documentation and the precise documentation, we were able to get the fair and equitable order without any issues. Now, there are some do and don'ts which one needs to keep in mind. When you are using the language in communication, it can be, normally it is English, but it can be vernacular also. It is not prohibited as such. But again, sometimes it is insisted that translation is required to be provided in English. Sometimes it is done by the technical unit. When you are drafting anything, please draft in such a manner that it is a reader receptive communication. It is ABC, accurate, bold, and constructive. When you be accurate, you have to be precise as well as perfect, bold, daring, audacious, constructive, always be a helpful communication, and positive. Nothing to be alligated. You are just communicating the plain facts of the matter. You may use the long sentences, you may use the short sentences and complex sentences. But I always prefer language to be short and sweet, if possible. But be very particular about the grammar usage, especially the use of past, present, and future. One may read the books on the grammars of Rajendra Pal and Suri or a Ren and Martin to improve, because most of us don't pay attention to the communication. Use commas at appropriate places, punctuations, semicolons, exclamations, brackets, paras, flaw. Use some legal jargons. Use only if you are confident. If you are not confident, don't use the legal jargons. At the faceless assessment stage, I usually don't prefer judicial precedents or legal opinions, but support can be drawn while drafting the submissions, but avoid quoting the judicial precedents wherever possible. Always examine the previous assessment orders of the assessee. Always use the proper contextual references and linkages in submissions so that submissions looks very receptive and in line with the arguments that you are putting across. Use of synopsis, issue calibrations, articulations, and calculations. Documentations, always use the original copies. And even if you are using a copies, please ensure that they are readable and scan is perfect. Wherever transcripts is possible, please provide the transcript. Use proper dressing while attending the hearing. You may build the network of the people. Recording, video recording is emailed to the assessee after 24 hours. Have a proper surrounding when you are attending the hearing. Time commitment, please honor under any circumstances. Always do the sanitization of the document compiled to ensure same information is not repeated again and again. You may use flowcharts, pictures, or graph wherever required. Summary records has to be there in all your submissions. Other aspects which can be. Now, more important thing that is to be done in the assessment, everybody is experienced of the assessment or not. we know what is asked on a regular basis. So when we are filing the income tax returns, can such information be compiled well in advance? That is to be taken care. If we can do, then it will save our time. These are the scanning practices which one needs to follow. And it is available on the ITD portal, as well as when you try to upload the documents, it is flashed on the screen itself. And if you are scanning the handwritten documents, ensure they are legible. As I understand, there is a proposal to increase the size limits, but as of now, there is no increase in the size limit than what we have mentioned in the earlier slides. Coming to the issues. First issue, very short time is given. Or sometimes we have observed that notices are given to be attended on a public holidays, or few days before the time barring due dates. And when the time limit of 15 days is given, it includes Saturday and Sunday also. Is it expected that all advisors or a client should work on Saturday as well as Sunday? They should not have a holiday. Food for thought for the government authorities. They should make such change if possible. But essentially, when it is tech driven, it understands the time gap. It does not understand whether it is a public holiday or it is a Saturday or a Sunday. So benefit of doubt has to be given to the government authorities. Ex parte assessments. I will indicate a reference of digital footprints. The assessee who has a digital footprint on the ITD portal will not face a major issue unless and until he is not responding to the notices. But a person has a PAN number, but he has never created an ITD portal. His account on the ITD portal. Say agriculturalists, typically. They are least bothered what is happening because their income is exempt from tax. So in their cases, if the assessment order is passed, which under section 144, without following the standard operating procedures of whereby the communication has never reached that particular assessee, in that case, care should be taken. All efforts are done to address the assessment under the faceless scheme. At times, it is observed that whatever the data that is available in the department, it is asked again and again. In first questionnaire, you file certain data, same data is called for again in the subsequent questionnaires or subsequent information sought. I think that should be avoided. Now, earlier this issue was there, notices were coming without dean, but most of the times now that is not a case. But always verify the dean. That is the procedure which we follow typically, just to safeguard. Voluminous data compilation. When the questionnaire is issued to the assessee, department should always provide for this. Is such time limit adequate, sufficient? Will it be possible for you to submit this information in the time desired? And if that is not possible, we will accommodate in terms of the time limits. That should be. But here we need to, as advisors, we should have the proactive approach of compiling the information in advance, which we may train clients or our staff or whoever is handling such an aspect. Data upload issues, we have already discussed. Hash values, we have discussed. Now here the value of hash value is very, very important. The reason being, if any data is amended or changed, hash values will change automatically. And hash value itself will account for your timing of filing and date of filing. Typically, whenever we file anything, we get the electronic communication key, so and so thing is updated. So probably, if any data is uploaded and the acknowledgement is generated, so along with the communication, if the acknowledgement is also emailed for the record purpose, then it will be really appreciated. As of now, acknowledgement one needs to download physically. There is no opportunity to the assessee to request the transfer the assessment to the jurisdictional assessing officer, if desired, if there is a matters are complex or something, whereas that discretion is only available with the National Faceless Assessment Center under section 144B, subclause 8. Assessee don't have the opportunity to refer the matter to technical units. It is quite possible that if the assessment unit is located in, say, Imphal, and he is doing the assessment of the unit based in Mumbai or metro city or anything, where he may not be aware about the lot of aspects of the business which are done in the metro cities. In that case, if he passes an order which is not in the interest of the assessee, which can be avoided if in such scenarios, reference of assessee to technical unit may be provided by the department if permitted, if possible, if feasible. Or take the another example, assessment unit only has an experience of the salary assessments, and he is impounded with the assessment of the Hindustan unit liver, was got a complex business setup. How will you do the assessment? Many assessment units are more comfortable in communicating in vernacular language. How do we address that thing? That aspect needs to be provided by the department and needs to be validated at their end. Adjournment request. It can be normal submissions as well as the VC hearings. Many times the VC link is received by the assessee as well as the authorized representative just 2 hours prior to the time schedule. I think it should be received well in advance. As soon as the request is made, the link should be provided to the assessee as well as the authorized representative, so that they can attend on that pre-scheduled time. Non-issuance of the draft assessment order, at times, it is observed. So assessee don't have an opportunity to file the cross objection, and which has led to filing of the writ petitions. And if such thing is done, the draft assessment order is not passed, when it is adverse decisions are taken, then it fundamentally violates the principles of natural justice. Assessment order should never be passed before the due dates of submissions. Data synchronization and reconciliation. AIS, Projects Insights, Form 26AS, ROC, GST, Customs, SFT reporting, TDS and TCS reporting, foreign exchange remittances, interplay of all these laws, dynamic data, which is updated every now and then. Can some cutoff date be provided? Or if a assessee is downloaded such data on a particular day and filed the returns based on that reconciliation, no future penalties would be levied, as that information was available for a cross verification by them before filing the ITR or the assessment. That can be looked into. Show cause notices due to summons under section 133(6). Opportunity of cross verification should be fair, and all people should be made to attend such a hearing. If a assessee has filed all the submissions pertaining to the transactions, and out of say 50 parties, 48 parties have given the information accurately in view of the summons issue, and 2 parties, due to genuine reasons, are not able to file the reply to the summons under section 133(6), then a liberal view in the interest of the assessment should be taken in favor of the assessment. And such additions should not be made. 143 and 1A adjustments are done in recent processing, where the exempt income from the partnership firm is considered as taxable. Carry forward of losses are not provided. And it is like very common. Exempt income is treated as a taxable income when there is a disclosure. Sometimes one is not able to file the response to one adjustments under 143 1A. Only resort left to the assessee is to go for the rectifications. And even if that rectification is rejected, one has to go for an appeals. I think that is not the objective of the scheme. Now let's look at what are the opportunities, threats, and challenges that are available. One can provide the pan-India services, any age group. It can be as young as 21, as age at 75. You are working on a system, you can provide the services. One can build up the professional network on a pan-India basis. Revenue sharing can be done based on the necessity where one is not the expert. One can develop the written as well as the spoken communication skills. One can optimize the use of technology and time. As now you don't have to travel, you don't have to wait outside the offices. You don't have to spend time in chatting around. Threats, aptitude issues. We need to come out of the aptitudes issues. Yeah, I can't do that. Everything is possible if it is desired. Technology issues, that is in our hand, which we can control. We can upgrade ourselves. Yes, it involves cost, but it's a need of the hour. Investment, language barriers, revenue sharing. Now, if assessee would like to attend the hearing and he can't speak in English, probably government may think of providing these people who can convey the messages in the English language so that such a barrier can be minimized. Fear of adverse orders due to faceless assessments has to be moved on. Now, what you will write, what you will present, what you will document, what you will submit, that will play this. Interpersonal relationship will be based on the technology. Documentation is the key. If your documentation is weak, then trouble can be ensued or anticipated. Neurosocial factors. It's a mind issue. We need to come out of it. Adaptations, communications. No, I can write only in vernacular language. Why should I take a support from anybody? Can't I explain verbally? That is not available anymore. It has to be in writing. Can I get the assessments done without the lack of research? Not possible anymore. Can I, without documentation, can the assessment be done? No. So your documentation has to be very, very strong from the day one. Area operability. I will operate only in Akola area. Or I will operate only in Amravati. No. You need to cross your boundaries. Travel beyond the boundaries. AR registration issues which we have discussed. Language transcripts we have discussed. What is the way forward, future developments and expectations? Faceless penalties, rectifications. Tribunals is already launched on 25th June 2021, but formal scheme will be implemented, I expect, on 1st February. High courts, Supreme Courts, international taxation matters. Tribunal faceless scheme will face a challenge because it is operating under the aegis of Ministry of Law, whereas the assessment is under the Ministry of Finance. So how that will be addressed, only time will tell. Search and seizures, dispute resolutions, demand and recovery proceedings, arbitrations and reconciliations, group assessments. Can we look for the group assessments in future? Husband and wife assessed together. Holding and subsidiaries company assessed together. Related parties assessed together. Whether there will be unison in CBDT, CBIE, customs, Ministry of Law in future. Whether it will be a digital synchronization or asynchronization. It can be a double-edged sword. Now, post-assessment procedures. Final order is received by the assessee from the National Faceless Assessment Center. No change. Change. Either acceptable, pay and close. Disagree. Unacceptable. File for rectifications with the jurisdictional assessing officer or go for appeal. Balance if any. Conclusions. This we have seen chart earlier. Whatever submissions that we are filing, so far we were filing the paper book at the tribunal. But can we change our practices of compiling the paper book at the faceless assessment stage itself? In my opinion, we should. It will really helpful because cross-referencing pagination will help while defending the arguments in our written submissions. It is a major event in the annals of tax administrations in India. Faceless scheme is to very adapted to the complex geography and the culture. Some reconfiguration and recalibration is required, but in future it will stabilize. can it be aligned to Indian realities? All are not educated, all are not technologically updated. Geography, grassroots realities. Probably government are definitely working towards the setting up the units in the different parts where technology is not available for the help of the assessees, but more and more such options are. To believe the same, to be transparent, just and painless, seamless and beneficial, some time will take, but it will come. It will restore the positive climate in future. It will lead to lesser litigation, lesser propensity to seek alternative remedies. Whether it is progressive or a regressive, in my opinion, is progressive. And it is a complete shift, paradigm shift in the way we look at the scheme. So again, I come back to my very first slide of foundation. In foundation is in our control. Digital footprint is in our control. Efficiency is in our control. Technology plus communication is in our control. And to accept to a faceless scheme is in our control. It is a new wine in a new bottle, which we should release. And where such scheme is not applicable, old wine is still available to you. I appreciate all of you. And I always say we should surround yourself with the people who talk about vision and ideas and not people. I thank you. With this, I hand over my charge back to Keyur. Keyur?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. बोलिए sir.
Yeah. Now you can take the questions and answers as required. If
Yes,
there are any.
Definitely. Now, members, as sir has explained us all the various problems and the glitches that are being faced and what precautions we.
Keyur can't hear you.
Hello. Yes. Am I audible? Am I audible, sir?
Not very clear.
Okay. Yes. Hello. Trying to reconnect. Yes, sir. Is it audible? Is it audible?
Yeah, one second, just 1 second. Yeah, tell me now.
Okay. Now, sir has elaborated us the various problems that we are facing with the faceless assessment and what things we need to change and how we need to present the data. Members, now we can raise our queries, if any, so that those can be discussed out. And Nitin sir is here with us, who will definitely guide us with that particular problem. Even income tax से भी इनामदार साहब साथ में हैं और प्रमोद सर साथ में हैं. तो अगर कुछ प्रॉब्लम्स ऐसे हैं जो हमें सही में फेस हो रहे हैं तो हम उन्हें भी बता सकते हैं. Then that can be covered by sir and it can be forwarded further to the income tax department by them also. Please, definitely you can post it in the chat box or just you can unmute and ask your queries over here. Members.
I hope I have not confused anybody.
No, sir, not at all, not at all. Hiren bhai, BM sir.
Hello.
Yes, Aditya. Yes, Aditya.
Hello, sir. There is one just small query related to this faceless assessment. Am I audible clearly?
Yes, yes, Aditya.
Yeah, sir. Actually, what is happening? We are getting these notices, and sometimes the summons are 133.6 also. We are receiving online. We are receiving the messages, but the notice is not getting displayed in our login.
Okay.
So how can we address this query? It gets displayed sometimes very late, or it is not appearing at all. Particularly summons which are issued for
It is
133.6 confirmation.
sometimes it gets.
Where can we reply?
So in that case, you can file a complaint on the grievance portal with the DIT systems, because typically sometimes the notices are flashed either within 24 hours or maximum 72 hours.
Okay. In that case, sometimes time limit available is 7 days only.
I know, but see, it is a teething issues, which I think the department will definitely address it.
Yes. Sure. Thank you.
Any other query?
So one thing is becoming clear: either everybody has understood everything, or nobody has understood anything.
But generally, problems.
So you had explained it quite a detailed and wonderful way. A lot of things have been already covered, and a lot of queries are already resolved with this session.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
थैंक यू आदित्य. मैं एक्चुअली वही बोलने वाला था कि बहुत सारी क्वेरीज तो शायद कवर हो गई हैं, तो डेफिनेटली दैट इज देयर. एंड अपार्ट फ्रॉम दैट, मेनी टाइम्स इट हैपेंस दैट द क्वेरीज दैट आर बीइंग डन, मेंबर्स खुद ही जब इनिशियली उन्होंने ट्राई किया होगा, वो सॉल्व हो गया होगा, तो अगली बार से फिर वो ओके दैट हैज बीन सॉल्व बाय देमसेल्फ बाय ट्राइंग एंड ट्राइंग, R&D जो हम कहते हैं. सो दैट इज आल्सो देयर. But still any other queries that are being available or issues that are being faced into faceless assessment procedures or the assessment proceedings that are going on? किरण भाई, कुछ queries अगर हैं?
Sir, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Sir, I have noticed one thing in some of the cases, that if we reply to the questionnaires that is being forwarded by the these faceless appeals and all assessments, not appeals, sorry. Sir, they keep on asking the same question again and again, and if we reply them with the same answer, then also they are not satisfied with what we say, our submissions and all. So what should be done in such cases, sir? Means I am not sure how to close that particular assessment. The same question is being asked say thrice, and I replied the same thing thrice. It was pertaining to some property related matter in one of the issues. So how can that be resolved, sir?
Okay. To answer this question, when the same question is posed again and again, which means, essentially it means, I'm just shooting in the air. I may be correct, I may not be correct also.
Yes, sir, please.
One matter is handled by assessment unit A, assessment unit B, assessment unit C. But you filed a reply with assessment unit A. That reply is not available with the assessment unit B. And again you filed with the assessment unit B. That reply is not available with the assessment unit C. And since the crux of the issue of assessment is the same, three different people looking at the same different issues will have the same question. Quite possible. As I have understood many times when we discuss with the departmental team members, even they say that we don't have access to the certain information on their dashboard.
Okay.
It is quite possible, but we need to have a persistence. Always refer कि I filed so and so reply on so and so day with so and so transaction ID. But for the to help the conclusion of the assessment, I'm refiling this information.
Okay.
But department can take care of this aspect. I believe they will make a note of this and they will address it.
So we can also quote the transaction reference ID that was being
And
filed
we
in the earlier
always refer to your previous submissions.
Okay.
It is a thumb rule when you are drafting any submissions.
The transaction ID and all needs to be input in the next reply.
For example, you are uploading documents which are around, say, 100 documents. So you'll be uploading into 10 different acknowledgements or 10 different IDs.
Yes, sir.
So when you are making a final submissions, make a table. One transaction ID so and so, annexure so and so, so and so. So that at least it is there on the record. See, if they don't get access, at least you have a record. Baba, these are the details which I have filed.
Got it, sir. Got it.
This is my view. Huh?
No. Got it, sir. That's a very valid point. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Any other query? Yes, members. Okay. By the time we have any queries, we also have today with us. Initially, the session was inaugurated by Tushar Inamdar sir, DCIT for Akola, and we have with us DCIT Pramod Shahakar sir also with us. I would request Pramod Shahakar sir also to share your views about this faceless assessment और कुछ क्वेरीज अगर या कुछ और इश्यूज ऐसा है जो आपको लग रहा है हाँ मेंबर्स शुड हैव अ नोट ऑफ इट प्रमोद सर आई जस्ट
Hello. Hello. Hello.
Yes, sir.
yes sir yes sir yes sir
Thanks, Nitin ji and Keyur ji for conducting a webinar on this subject, sensitive subject, and what is said is very innovative and this new subject. I hope you will arrange again on the faceless assessment appeal.
yes sir अपील पे भी आगे करेंगे सर प्रमोद सर भी आगे अनम्यूट उनका सिस्टम एरर हो रहा था प्रमोद सर आगे हैं
More active participation from the CA members.
yes sir sir हम लोग
Nitin spoken a lot about this very good speech, very knowledgeable speech on the subject.
Yes, definitely, sir.
Thank you, sir.
For that, we definitely all appreciate Nitin, sir. He has explained it very minutely this particular faceless assessment part. So, uske liye, definitely we'll have an applaud for him. That very nicely presented this faceless assessment. Yes.
Your queries must have been solved due to this nice webinar.
Definitely, sir. Yes, sir. Sir, we have Pramod sir also with us. Pramod sir, unka unmute ho gaya tha.
Thanks everyone for participation in
Okay.
the
Thank you, sir.
We'll. Yes, sir. Pramod sir. Can't hear sir, can't hear. Okay. Sir, चलिए एक बहुत ही अच्छा सेशन होता है and we had a very good discussion on this particular topic of faceless assessments, a paradigm shift, how it evaluated, queries क्या जा रही हैं, हम सबको problems क्या face हो रहे हैं और हमें क्या मुद्दों पे ध्यान रखना है जिससे we are able to solve our queries and submit the documents and submit our replies with the income tax department. So for this, we, on behalf of Akola branch of WIRC of ICAI and the entire managing committee, thank at the outset Tushar Inamdar sir, DCIT for Akola, Pramod Shahakar sir, DCIT Akola, and our today's speaker, CA Nitin Bhuta sir from Mumbai, who have spared their time and solved our queries and enlightened us with this particular topic of faceless assessment. Thank you, sir. It was wonderful listening you for this particular session, and definitely, as said by Tushar sir, we will definitely have a session on appeals part also, and how we need to proceed for appeal and what are the submissions we need to do and the various other issues relating to appeals. अगला एक सेशन जरूर इसको प्लान आउट करेंगे और उसके ऊपर भी हम एक टॉपिक जरूर सेशन रखेंगे. Till then, thank you all and have a great day and have a great health. Take care of your health. Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.